a two-way answer to this question, whether the judiciary could be captured and also could be actually acting in a manner which actually shows
was violated.
Yes, this one is actually based on the precedent by the case itself, the Supreme Court ruling. I think this actually came as a blessing, because what courts were looking at the issue of constitutionality versus the MDC constitution. So when we look at the way that the judges interpreted the issue, looking at the ways they nullified the National Council meeting, which elected an acting president in the form of Nelson Chamisa, we actually look at it from a technical perspective and say, if a National Council could not do any human resource function of a Congress, but went ahead to create an acting president, or create a president or an office bearer of Congress, that one was actually found to be out of bias. In other words, everything else that came from that meeting with such a notation, a nullity. And then when we want to look at that and also match it with the ZANU-PF scenario, we actually find that this actually a similar case to what we have gone through, especially in 2007, November 19, where certain machinations set to try to create office bearers of a Congress out of a central committee meeting, and actually went ahead and also reinstated some, they moved some, and went ahead to endorse some, and doing it in between Congresses. So these are very interesting cases which are actually brought by a precedent of the courts. And we now say, what exactly are we talking about in our judiciary? So the judiciary actually handled quite a number of issues on the MDC case, like the muteness. I think this one was once was actually discussed as to say, is the controversy that was there when this case was applied still there, and what was concerning and subsequent events that have taken place affecting the judgment today. I think the judges went so deep to answer. That is the same with the ZANU-PF case. We have thought that there was no issue to be corrected, but the way that the answered or acted upon the matter of muteness on the MDC case gives a great opportunity. It gives the opportunity, and it's actually the greatest opportunity that we have ever had in this country, because issues of illegitimacy are actually ringing, and were actually ringing from long. Directly transpired at the Operation Restore Legacy.
Do you have any other, sorry, just to cut you off, do you have any other ZANU-PF supporters whom you think share the same position, or as far as legitimacy is concerned, or constitutional violation? Do you have any other internal supporters or cadres that you think share the same position?
Yeah, there are quite many, and in that process, all the supporters of ZANU-PF want to answer this question, and I can actually assume that the responses we're getting in the groups that we have created just on how people are actually responding to this one. But also, I want to quickly to look at it from another perspective. You see, the generality of a lot of noise that's happening on social media, and the people actually discussing this matter. I think the whole lockdown is now made up of this discussion, how and how did it to be, and what happened at the session of the purported session of the Central Committee that is actually under controversial eye, and also under there is a lot of excitement. That's what I can say succinctly.
Okay, I think you were breaking. Some people couldn't hear. I'm not sure in Harare whether you heard what he was saying.
Well, in Harare, we could try, and I think I managed to pick. He said that yes, there is excitement, and many people are excited towards this, and there's been a very good response as far as social media is concerned from people who are affected by this issue. So yes, I could pick up some of the things that he said. Just before I give him a breather, I'll hand him over to you soon, but. I still, I'm not yet done with giving me a hard time. Mr. Goodman, I just need to understand something. You know, very few people in Zimbabwe would dare challenge the president. I've got two questions to you on that issue. Number one, how do we know that you are not a sideshow? How do we know that you are not probably a diversion as far as Zimbabwean politics is concerned? And probably, how do we not know that you could be a member of the intelligence sector?
You heard the questions? Hello?
Is he there?
Let's see. Yeah, it seems to be. Hello? Hello? It looks like he's. Let me phone him again and see.
Okay.
So
I would have loved to have his audio as clear as yours. This is a very important issue. I wish only
you need him in the so that you can see him and talk to him directly. Hello?
Definitely.
Yeah, did you hear the question?
I did not get that correctly. I think there was the line.
No, the question is simply is your bona fides. Are you not part of the intelligence who is trying to divert attention from the public at a critical time when these matters are being discussed? Is it not a sideshow that is financed by the very people you seem or purport to be fighting?
Oh, no. All right. I think I get the question. I am actually a bona fide to the cause. I'm an affected member of the society and who is interested in the justice of this case. There was no way in which I could have been an agent of the government that I will be taking to court. And this is quite a sensitive issue. It also involves a lot of guts and some bravado and some confidence to really want to raise these legal questions in court. I'm a standalone, and I want to see justice actually being given a full place in this matter. So I want to say no, I'm not part of the system for the intelligence that the question is coming with. No, am I someone who is trying to do any devil's it's going in courts for the world to see, for the world to actually embrace the verdict and to come out of this case? It's not easy to take your own president or your own head of state to the court. It takes quite a strong man, someone who loves this country, also someone who loves justice.
The current president of the current president of ZANU-PF, maybe you can the current president of ZANU-PF, some are saying you have preferred General Chiwenga to take over. Is that correct? That you have a personal view and you've been waiting for something to hit the current president. Are you neutral? Are you a constitutionalist? You are somebody who is handing with that if it was another president, you probably would not care.
I can hardly hear you. I'm sure even our viewers can also hardly hear him. Is there a way where we can reconnect him so that he answers that very important question? Is there a way where you can reconnect him? Because we can hardly hear him.
Okay, yeah, let's say I'm trying to get him to, please can you try again to answer we seem to break somewhere. They are saying, are you not Mashavira who is being funded by big boys?
Yeah, there's a network. I think the network issue.
There's a network issue, or they're saying, but probably your friends in the CIO who are jamming or who are playing games with the network so that.
I did not say that.
And, I'm not on anybody's payroll to do this action.
You are not on anybody's payroll, he says. Tony, you hear what he's saying? He says, no, I'm my own man, I'm on my own feet.
Mm-hmm. It's not the easiest of the tasks to do in Zimbabwe, specifically challenging the constitutional, the rise of a sitting president to power. Does he fear for his life? And if he doesn't fear for his life, what gives him security? Because that's not a very simple thing to do. And how does he interpret that?
Yeah, they are saying that in a normal democracy, your rights will be protected by the Constitution. In Zimbabwe,
does it feel protected by the Constitution?
Do you feel you can seek refugee in a constitution when Mugabe could not get refugee?
I love the way you amplify it.
And how strong are you when Mugabe was amputated and he could not walk? He said, Asante Sani. The new dispensation? Mugabe lived to see the new dispensation.
Yeah,
but,
let's say yeah, Mr. Mawere, you know, this issue comes with it also some form of testing the system itself. But at the same time, we cannot be a people who say that politics is a dirty game and sit back and just be subservient to the system. I have actually taken a step to say that I would want to go before the court and test how listening my president is to this conversation. It is a conversation. It is a highly impersonal. When you are challenging a constitutional provision, you are not even looking at the persona of anyone. This is a technical issue which even the president himself will be interested in resolving. Because when I look at it, I actually look at it with a difference of the bilateral and the multilateral relation that the president is engaging and he has engaged in already. So issues of nullity do not limit us to the actions of any president. And everybody is excited to see how legitimate the president is in terms of him occupying the institution office of the president. So it doesn't matter whether it was A or B in the same place, but the engine or special purpose vehicle that brought him to power is of question. It is actually the one that we want to take to the courts and say, if a central committee was purported to behave happened, could it have also elected office bearers of the Congress? Was a president, no matter what political party, the president of a political party may actually be a national president. So in our case, it's very interesting. two meetings that this party, and the president is not president for ZANU-PF, he's president for the whole nation, even the minority. So it is only personal, and it does not attack anyone, but it is actually a constitutional development issue where we are testing our own actions versus the constitution that are creating.
So, from Harare, are you satisfied with the answer, or did you hear the answer?
Yeah, you can just re-amplify the answer. I understand you probably have a better stick now because I was getting it in bits and pieces. So for the benefit of our viewers, Mr. Mawere, please just try and explain exactly what he has been saying, because I know you probably have a better reception than us here in Zimbabwe.
He is saying that the nature of his attack is an attack based on constitutionalism. And he is encouraged by the fact that the president himself is a constitutionalist. He is a lawyer. So there is no prejudice suffered by him if this matter is tested in court.
Are you sure about that?
Well, he's saying that there is no prejudice. He is not fighting the man. He's not playing the man. He's playing a game. And he is not there to look for number 1 or number 9 or number 0. He's just playing the game, and he's saying that this kind of conversation that he's having in court should ideally be part of a normal conversations among Zimbabwe, so that one president does not become too many. So he doesn't see himself as fighting the president or a president. He is saying that the nature of the attack, even within MDC, that's why the court did not give a cost order. The court was not punitive against anybody, because they are saying that there is a bona fide dispute as to whether the National Council does possess the power that some other members of MDCT purported it to have. And both parties ought to have come together, because they were all directed to the institution of the MDCT. And he doesn't see that being a problem within the context of ZANU-PF. But he says, okay.
While you are still there, I'm trying to add 1 + 1 to get 2 here. If we do agree that the ZANU-PF constitution was certainly violated in the way Emmerson Mnangagwa ascended to power, then there has to be a certain place where we should reach and say X should have been the legitimate appointed person. Do we have such a candidate that we are now saying, well, at least this person should have been the one that should have rose to power if this was done legitimately, if I'm to ask?
Okay, did you hear the question?
If you can you hear me?
Yeah.
I got the question quite clearly. Can you hear me so that I can go ahead?
Go ahead.
Right. The issue happened on the 19th of November 2017 is an issue that also involved a sitting president of that time. So when he asked this question, I think he's now looking at the remedies that we are looking at, or the relief that we are looking at after what we are seeking for in the courts. But I want to hasten to go back to the 2017 point where we actually had to choose the sitting president. There was actually a president then by the name Robert Gabriel, and who never resigned from. So if we are going to project what we are looking at from the perspective of the judgment that is being sought, we are looking at a situation where the law is going to be applied in the exact time that we are talking about. The time that President Robert Gabriel Mugabe was actually a president and was removed, or he resigned from his role as the president of the country or from government without really resigning from the party. So for us to then say, who do we want to be the president? I think we need nature of the case itself, that we are saying that there was no Congress to actually choose the president at that time. Whenever a vacancy arises in ZANU-PF, it invokes Section 26, which calls for an elective or an extraordinary elective Congress to fill in the gap of the president. And that did not happen. The president, Robert Mugabe, only resigned in government and not in the party. So
do you believe that President Mugabe resigned from the government? Do you believe he constitutionally and legally resigned? What's your take to his resignation from the government?
Yeah, you see now that also look at the clean bill of health that the coup that was not a coup was given by the courts. Because if I wanted to really test your question, I would then look at things that would make this resignation a nullity, even in the resignation in government. And in law, we talk to the representations. Was he not misrepresented that he made a resignation? Was he not under metus of fear, exposed by the Operation Restore Legacy itself because he was under house arrest? What exactly transpired? He never got a chance to tell anybody about these things. And then we also look at the duress aspect. Was there any duress? Was he put in some form of a pressure that would only make his wills pliable to resign? So all these factors, these are the things that every Zimbabwean now should actually be asking and saying, what exactly transpired? Because all we saw was the Speaker of Parliament reading a resignation that we never could prove whether it came from the source that it was coming from, or whether it was signed in good faith that a person on his own volition is now resigning from the post of the head of the nation as a president. So that aspect was on. We actually want to put it aside because we are saying the army and the Operation Restore Legacy was given a clean bill of health. It was sanitized by the court. But this particular question that we are now talking about is the issue that now is replaced president who is resigned from government. We want to test by using various questions. If he resigned from government and not from the party, could also the party recall such a president who is not resigned from the party and recalling him from government? So you can actually see where I am coming from with these legal questions that I'm actually saying that we as Zimbabweans, we need to go before an arbitrator in the name of a high court or then appealing to the high court for us to get these answers. It's a 1 + 1 is equal to 2, as you say. There is constant we need to tackle. But I have chosen to look at the sections of the Central Committee itself. What section governs the sitting of the Central Committee in the first place? What does it say? And what happened on the day? Was any meeting convened? Was there any meeting held on November? Then my answer would be a no. That was just a gathering. That was just a metamorphosis. That was just an unlawful gathering, even under POSA Act. That is what I'm to say before I go to the court.
Okay. Yeah, but some would argue that some would argue that Obed Mbovu was one of the most senior candidates, and according to the ZANU-PF constitution, Obed Mbovu had a mandate to lead the Central Committee.
Just hold fire. There is a question that the chair of the disputed meeting of the Central Committee was one Obed Mbovu, who was the most senior at that gathering. And the question is, why remove that seniority? What is the legal basis of your attack? On what authority do you attack his locus to chair the meeting? Is that correct?
Correct, that's correct, because he's saying it's null and void, and I'm asking, but Obed Mbovu was there as the most next level top senior person. Was that not according to their constitution?
That is actually not according to the constitution. constitution. The aspects that we need to look at when we look at the sessions of the Central Committee is who amongst the cadres or amongst office bearers can actually convene a meeting. And the honor only is on the presidency. It is actually the president himself, or in his absence, the deputies, and then the chairperson, but it doesn't say that a secretary for admin will ever preside over a session of a Central Committee. He will never do that. There is not the most senior person when it comes to the Constitution. I think when we talk of the most senior person, we are actually talking about these meetings that we do when we are at the rural areas where we just want to do a rally, you know, those things. But the Central Committee are a legal phenomena that is actually prescribed by the ZANU-PF Constitution. And it is very clear, and it doesn't say that a secretary for admin can ever come in the Ascendacy protocol of convening or presiding over a meeting of a Central Committee. It doesn't say that.
And Mr. Lennon Wizi says, have you exhausted internal remedies? Because basket is not just a basket. He will haunt you in court. Because the judge will ask you, why come to the courts when internal remedies could have been exhausted and used?
The issue we now have at hand is now beyond the party, because we are looking at a president who has become a head of state. And the arbitration that we actually need is no longer an in-house arbitration where we sit using the party procedures. Remember, we now have a president or a head of the of state who has actually emanated from ZANU-PF. And just to put you to the general principles of this constitution, the constitution actually recognizes that there are also other judicial segments or in the society. It is not living in a vacuum, and it even says that when one person has been accused of a certain crime and he has been sentenced to so much in terms of time, will not hold this position and all that. But in this case, it is now beyond the party. And if I were to go through this matter in my own with my own party, following all the procedures, I think we have gone to the point where we would have gone to the Congress that we are talking about. Because we are saying that there was a machination or there was a special purpose vehicle or engine that was used outside the Constitution, which manipulated the activities of a Central Committee and also defrauded the functions of a Congress to create this president. So where would I go? It was not a Congress that created, no, was this president nominated?
The answer is that you have not done so.
Yes.
Within the party. You have not exhausted internal remedies.
Yes.
So it's rather too late.
Yeah. What if some people say, Mr. Goodman, you are a good man. Why don't you remain good at your level as a chairperson of a small entity? Why do you want to confuse the whole country about an injury that could only be personal?
It's beyond this. It's beyond a personal issue, Mr. Mawere. I don't know if you heard me when I explained this issue.
No, it doesn't flow to government because the infringement was Section 38 of a party constitution. So this dispute starts in the party and may have legs or tentacles that go into government. But essentially, it's a party dispute. And all Lennon is asking, have you pursued remedies? If not, can you give your papers to the court why you haven't done so. Why should the court be the court of first instance in terms of a dispute resolution? Have you spoken to your branch? Have you tried what happened? Or is the ghost of the Supreme Court that energized you to become a constitutionalist? And now you want to use the court's determination on the MDC dispute to see whether it applies to ZANU. Is that the case?
Yes, I'm actually motivated by the Supreme Court ruling and also on the background of the matter itself. Remember, if I want to put all the viewers and the listeners to the wavelength, the same wavelength with me on this matter, the transfer of power or the transaction that created this session happened during an Operation Restore Legacy, and this was a national issue, and which prompted the party to respond to the dominant pressures that were at hand without consultations whatsoever from the lower organs, like which I'm coming from as a political district. So what I'm saying is actually beyond the party, because if I wanted to even put a particular example is on the issues where we are saying the president who was actually recalled.
Because the moment you come out of the party, you lose your ammunition. Is that correct, Tony?
Exactly. In fact, I wanted him to confirm whether or not he's still a member. I think our viewers need to hear that. But is this still a chairperson of the party?
Are you still a member in good standing?
Yes, I'm still a member.
All right. So, and do you understand the difference between convening and presiding? What is your understanding in your own words in relation to Section 38?
In Section 38, the way to convene relates to the power to actually call a meeting, and the way to preside is only the giving of direction, the meeting itself. So the convening part is able to say that there should be a meeting, that convoking of a certain, a certain process, the due process, the whole process of saying that there should be a meeting. And then presiding is when this meeting is now going to be in session. Who direct what is now the presiding. So I think this is very clear. The convening is actually to do with who has got the power and who has got the authority and the convocation to call for a meeting, in simpler terms. But presiding is now this meeting that has been called. Who is going to chair it? Who is going to direct it? Who is also going to find the unit of direction of the meeting itself? Those two words, I think they are quite clear.
And Munya says, please give us a break. Mugabe is just too old to be the president of both the party and the state. And most people didn't care and still don't care whether he was forced to resign or not. The man just had to go. So aren't you trying to resurrect the ghost of Mugabe?
I think this question actually makes it so, because you see, we are all equal before the law. The whole process of constitutionalism and the whole process of democracy makes us equal before the law. It doesn't say that when one is 95, is no longer covered by the Constitution. And the Constitution of ZANU-PF is very clear that when people are actually wanting or are actually pushed to do a vote of no confidence, there is a clear and guidelines which are actually there for people to do that. And I want to challenge those people who say that Mugabe was old to have gone to actually make a vote of no confidence, and they also the remedy of impeachment we finally saw at the end of the day, they had all these options from government and the party. But to say that he was too old, I mean, we are now trying to make him a scapegoat of the matter. But in actual fact, he was still part of our democratic process of equality before the law and the rule of law itself, and also vested with all his rights and freedoms as a president and also as a person.
Maybe, Toneo, if you made a 95-year-old, is it a crime? Oh.
The law shall not be changed or be approached differently because of the age of the involved parties. That should not be part of the agenda. I'm sure the clarity here is within the law. Whether or not Mugabe was old and tired, I'm sure it will be setting a precedence. Because if people can get away with murder because of an age, I'm sure, and if we remain silent in that aspect, then we should also remain silent if they also get away with murder, if they kill somebody younger, because it's not about age here. It's about the constitution and the legality of the action that has been done. That's what we are questioning.
And they also say even abortion, some people even say it's murder because you are terminating somebody's life. Once. So I think just to underscore what Toneo say, that the law gives rights to persons. It doesn't give rights to persons by age. Okay, definitely. And Lennon is still on your side, on your attack. He's saying, is there a word in section 38 that says convening? Did you see that word on section 38 that says convening? And yet here in the public square, you are talking about convening.
Yeah, because the president of the party is described right from article number 1, where we actually see him described. I do not know if Lennon has got his constitution so that they can actually answer him very simply, and also aligning the answer to various questions or various sections.
No, yeah, Lennon just wants to deflate your tire.
No, when we look at the president, when we look at the president, Mr. Lennon, from the description of the party itself in article number 1, just after the constitution is described, the name of the party.
No, you are now. No, he's just saying. No, he's just saying.
I want to get my point. Just allow me to do so.
Okay, go ahead.
What I'm saying, we are talking of a president who is described as the one who is going to have the party seal. If you actually go in all kingdoms of the world, the one who holds the seal of an institution or organization is usually the king. And the party or the ZANU-PF constitution describes the only one who actually shall keep this seal and which shall be used under the direction and his control all the time. So when we then want to see
Lennon just wants to nail you somewhere.
But he's failing to.
He's saying, does section 38 speak of convening? Yes?
It doesn't talk of convening, but it gives a ascendancy of protocol to the people who will actually preside.
So let's ask Mr. Rutsito, can you be absent from a show that you don't know anything about?
Please come again. I was losing you a bit.
I'm saying, can you be absent from a show that you are unaware of?
No, it's not possible. You get
fixture. Why do they have fixtures in soccer?
So that you fully know when you are supposed to be participating or not.
So if you are sick or you are injured the night before, what happens to the game? Let's say Ronaldo or Messi is, it's on the fixture. He knows the game is going to take place.
If he knows the game is going to be taking place, he seeks replacement from his team.
So you'll be absent from the game.
As a player, not the team. The team is going to be present, but the player will be absent. And the team has the jurisdiction to replace them.
So when somebody says Ronaldo is going to play on Sunday, for him, you must know there's a Sunday to play. Is that correct? That if he has no knowledge that is a game, he can't be absent.
Yes, he can't be absent.
Because he simply doesn't. Yeah. So Lennon is just trying to make the point that the proper wording of that is that the president just comes by helicopter or parachute into a meeting to preside over a meeting that he has no knowledge of. From your own knowledge, Mr. Rosito, do you think it's plausible that a person can just parachute himself into a meeting?
I don't think that would be practical. No.
So, Goodman, do you agree that it's already subsumed that for you to preside, you convene something that you have consented to taking place?
Definitely. And I also want to add on to that, that you actually know the agenda of the meeting, and you have involved in the reading of the last minutes with your secretary, and you are also giving him a go-ahead to make notifications of other members who also respond to whether they are coming or not, so that you can actually register their official apologies and everything like that. So the day of the meeting itself is not the only thing that we're looking at. We are looking at the due process or the procedures that are followed for calling a meeting, and it is in any organization that the notifications happen before the meeting. So it was going to take place, and the president was not going to be there. It's a meeting that he was fully aware of the agenda, and should have authorized this agenda, and also given the secretary a go-ahead to call for a meeting. So some of these processes, I think they follow the world best practices. And we are talking about, he cannot be a lesser person when you talk of a chairman of a board. These things are actually under the guidelines of corporate governance and all the other issues that we talk about in business. And remember, ZANU-PF is a body corporate. It is not a non-registered institution. It is an institution that follows the auspices of corporate governance. So the issue of conducting a meeting and the conduct of the meetings, and the issue of minutes and who reads the quorum and who does what, I think these are universal issues that we are talking about. We do not want to think that we are talking about a very small entity. This is a institution with all the professional peoples in it. So the absence of a president cannot be in the abstract. He can be absent physically. His absence as the head of the party is never absent. The head of the party is never absent. But his physical presence in a meeting is actually the one that is being spoken about in section 38 about the sessions of a central committee. Yeah, that in his absence, then one of his vice president or second secretary shall preside the meeting. But when we look at the functions of the president and the two vice presidents that we are talking about, their functions are actually elaborated in section 45 and 46 of the Constitution, which says that they shall carry out functions as may be assigned to them by the president and first secretary. So the issue of delegation is inevitable and is a factor that we cannot run away from. It is not just a vice president who, as in when the president is not there, becomes the president. No, he still remains vice president, but he waits upon the authority vested by protocol, which is actually clearly shown by Section 38, that these people, should they not be there, so and so presides. But it's a meeting that is known to all of them. It's not in the abstract. So I think this point is very clear, Mr. Mboma.
Okay, and there is a question here that, in your own opinion, was Vice President Mnangagwa, in dismissing him from the party and from the position of Vice President of the government, was it properly done, or was it done ultra vires, the same constitution that you're talking about?
Yeah, we've got the fact that the expulsion of now president, who was the then VP, was actually done by the president himself after the conduct of the now president or the VP of the time was found to be inconsistent or was found to be sufficing an expulsion. He was actually called to come for a hearing, and upon which he actually is said to have skipped the country. So when we want to look at the extenuating circumstances versus what was happening in the party, we are looking at a situation he should have actually made sure that it is actually heard in the manner that I want to take my issues to the courts. I think the now president, who was the then VP, should have sought for arbitration, because there could have been some extenuating circumstances that arose which made him to skip the country. But he was actually called to come.
No, in fact,
he did not attend.
In fact, Mr. Rutsito, we want to test your history.
Don't test my history, please.
Yeah,
but before you test my history, I just need to establish something quickly with Mr. Goodman there. Mr. Goodman, do you agree, or are you of a position that Emmerson Mnangagwa was lawfully and legally fired from the party? Was he legally expelled as a candidate? And how long was he expelled, or if he was suspended, how long was he legally supposed to come back to the party? I just need to establish something there.
Yeah, on the issue of the now president Mnangagwa, I think I actually want to also give him a benefit of doubt, because he gave a special reason, and also it did not sound very well. Whether he was expelled from the party did not sound very well to many of us in the party. We were not so sure of what was happening, that a VP would be expelled in the manner, because it all started from a certain rally where the then president
I think Goodman, so you remember when Mnangagwa was removed, and Mr. Rutsito, do you recall when Mnangagwa was removed?
Definitely, very clearly, I do remember.
There was a constitutional amendment in ZANU-PF providing for the deputies not to be elected at Congress.
Mm-hmm.
That the deputies, the president was only official of Congress, and his deputies, because they were afraid that some provinces were going to elect Mnangagwa, so they took away that power from Congress, so that the president had the discretion to appoint and disappoint. It was like cabinet ministers.
Yes.
At the pleasure of the president.
Yes, correct.
Whereas Mike Cooper did not serve at the pleasure of what? The president of MDC. That's why it was difficult for Tsvangirai to get rid of Kope. So after that amendment, you discover that in the Congress of 2014, if you Google, the two vice presidents were not elected by Congress. They were appointed after the Congress.
Yeah.
And based on factors.
So it was the president on his own. So those people were not accountable to the Congress, but to the president.
Yeah.
So that's one distinguishing feature. Do we understand each other?
Correct. We are home.
Yeah. So the dismissal, when you are appointed by somebody, he has the power to disappoint you.
Yeah, you serve at his mercy.
At his mercy. So
I was saying that he was actually saying, I am the one who put him there. So I think we are saying a very strong point. Go ahead, Mr. Mawele.
Okay. Chan Zah says, I salute you, Mr. Goodman. The whole Operation Legacy, which ushered the current leadership, was also unconstitutional. The process in which RGM was removed from office was both illegal from the perspective of the ZANU-PF constitution, which is mute at this point, as the country's constitution, which was violated in spirit and letter. You know, Mr. Rutsito, you know, many people love this word mute. You know what? You know, also other people, Mr. Kwangware is in America, spelling it now. You know how he is spelling it? For Mr. Goodman, you can't see it.
Okay.
But he's spelling mute.
Can you?
He's using M-U-T-E.
Yeah. Okay.
M-O-O-T. Well, I think the mute case is also mute because it can't speak no more.
We can't speak no more. I think that's the point. What would be your take if I were to say you suppose cause the court challenge is nothing but frivolous and high-sounding nothing. It won't survive the heat of the day. And you know, that's Mr. Lennon, he's just trying to flatten your tire. If there's air, trying to pump it out.
Trying very much.
So, Lennon is
before we allow them to flatten his tire, I just want to understand with Mr. Goodman, what do you think are your chances here with the justice system in Zimbabwe? Should you file this court? And maybe allow me just to ask the second question of when are you planning to officially file this court of challenging the ascendancy? But before we get there, I need to understand something. What do you think are your chances with the justice system in Zimbabwe? Should you file this case? And after that, I need to ask of when.
When I look at the judicial precedent created by the MDC case, I find that the courts are actually obliged to follow their own ruling in terms of court precedent. And the whole world is watching, and it will be actually a sad day that the courts will apply it otherwise. Because by what we say ratio dissidente in law, or by the reason of their decision, MDC ruling is actually binding of the judicial. So, yeah, the precedent and there is very clear. It would be a sad day. Just imagine if the courts would now say that the central committee, because we are now trying to match the two cases, the MDC case and the ZANU-PF case. And I think on the last show that we did, and maybe for the benefit of other viewers and listeners, we actually met with the Senate committee that the Central Committee of ZANU-PF. Its equivalent in MDC is the National Council. The National Council could not do any human resource function or could not create or elect or remove or reinstate any person who is an office bearer of the Congress. But then it went on to do so, which was then declared a nullity. And on the other hand, ZANU-PF case, we have got this creature which was created by a meeting or gathering that was done or taken place on the 19th of November 2017, which tried also to do the same. It was set as a central committee, but which took the functions of a Congress, did issues that were ultra-vires and issues that were actually unconstitutional. So having looked into these issues in comparison and going to the courts, it will be a sad day for the judiciary to actually come with a precedent that is different. Because it will actually mean that the NDC might as well come back and claim their case otherwise, and it will actually bring disreputes and ridicule to our courts. But I also want to say something that I think you're actually coming to, which is about the capture of the judiciary itself. It is actually something that I'm actually worried about in the general polity of our general polity in our country, which is actually characterized by patronage. You know, it is patronage driven, in which some ruling class or political associates, legislators, servants are actually provided with jobs in return for loyalty. And that is usually the case with judges or the Chief Justice. He could have been appointed for his task on the basis of loyalty, or at the basis that he is going to be subservient or a slave to the appointer. And that is actually a huge risk that we are going to be testing. So the capture of the key sectors of the economy by clientelistic practices or some form of patronage cannot be overruled. But we cannot say it now, Mr. Lennon, before we take our method in court. So we are testing two things. We are testing the partiality,
the independence and the impartiality of the courts.
Also looking at the legal, the independence, it's also under test. And the impartiality.
Mr. Sito, any further question on that side?
Yeah, so now that the precedent has already been set, should it sound obvious that the ruling should then have a following? Don't you think that there's an interest to probably throw this case away before it's even heard? Does that worry you at all, that this case may never see the day of any court sitting?
He's asking you as a lone ranger that as Mr. Rusito, he has no interest in the outcome. He's saying you are on your own, nigger, sort your problems in, and I will do nothing, wait for nothing, and if you harvest, that's your harvest. But I, editor of Tech Magazine,
Mr. Goodman, can I please amplify myself? I have no idea where he's coming from. Let me repeat my question. Does it worry you at all that maybe a precedent is already set, and that may set a clear ruling that the judiciary, if it's impartial, may not be interested in hearing your case? Does that come to your head, or does it come to your mind at any point?
This may actually result in a subtle shift of the law itself, Mr. Lennon. The Supreme Court is not bound to follow its own decision. If it is not bound to follow its own decision, then it is actually possible that the Supreme Court overrules previous or erroneous decisions as well. So it's a very important part of development.
Does it worry you, yes or no?
It does, but I want Lennon to actually look at.
No, it's not Lennon. It's Toneo. Is Mr. Rutsuto. Yeah. So I'm saying is if it worries you, then there is a second, which is by Michael Mutegeza. He says, how can the public help in this mission? Because he's saying, please be honest. Because we don't want you to end up a corpse tomorrow for asking the wrong question. Because the test can end up with injury, you know that.
I know that.
Yeah, this is not a virginity test. This is
gloves are off, but please go ahead.
That's so Mugabe lose the job. Who is a little.
This is actually going to change.
Yeah, so it's not just a small test. Is that what Mr. Rutsuto is saying? That don't test when you know the test already.
Yeah, but when we look into the case itself, people may actually see as though I am a lone ranger to the case, but I want the whole nation of Zimbabwe to be put into the true perspective of the matter that you are talking about. The issue of the session of the Central Committee, it's in fact a number of resolutions that it made. And I want the nation to also anticipate supporting affidavits to anybody who could have been aggrieved with the matter. It is going to be a very interesting.
So you have not filed, you are saying you have not filed, and his other question was when
upon the filing of it and also upon the.
And when do you intend to?
Yeah, that's the question there. He's breaking. We need to hear that part about the intention to officially file.
But I think we are. I beg your pardon?
When do you intend to file, and how far are you in the value chain of filing?
Yeah, I'm not going to speculate on the aspect.
But you are determined to reach the court's doors.
Yes.
All right.
Is there any form of assistance that you are looking forward to do this? Are you having any challenges? And are you looking forward to any form of assistance from the generality of Zimbabweans in and around Zimbabwe, if I may understand?
Yeah, the issue of lockdown, that is what I wanted to explain. There is the Chief Justice that is affecting all of us. And you cannot actually go to the court before Monday. I think Monday is the earliest possible day that filing can take place.
The next Monday. So, Tone is asking, you know, the media can play a valuable role in mobilizing support of a cause. Once he understands what the cause is, he's saying, is there anything that you want this virus to be supported with? Because you are a virus now.
What I would love, I would want the promotion of the case to be sold across all media, because it is in line with promotion of public awareness of the Constitution. This is a constitutional matter, and
Goodman. He's asking, do you need money or leaders, Vuvuzela, or what do you need? Because Zimbabweans have been Vuvuzelaing for the last 40 years, and they complain the ones who are cheerleaders of unaccountable system.
Yeah, that's very true. At this moment, I'm not looking for money, and I'm not looking for.
So you are a rich man then.
For representation.
You are a rich man in Zimbabwe.
Do you have the requisite financial capacity to hold such a lawsuit against the current sitting head of state? Do you have the financial muscles to pull through this court application that you're going to be doing? Or are you already backed? And if you are backed by any, can we know who is backing you?
No, imagine, Goodman, you failed the first test. Tane was looking forward to seeing you tonight.
All right.
And you don't have the means to be seen. As a result, I'm on this show. I was not supposed to be on this show. It was supposed to be one-on-one. But because God has visited his phone, he can't use it. So he was unable to get hold of you. So if you can't be on air real time so that Goodman can talk to you, see you, eyeball you, because right now he's imagining what you look like. And that's dangerous in this day and age, the digital age. That's why there's a video function. So if he were to call you tomorrow to say, come back, he doesn't want you to talk about problems because you are not saying what the problem is. All he wants is honesty, that I want to be able to get that voice out so that you can talk to people directly in their eyes and see them.
Yeah, but on that point, Mr. Mawere, I would want all the viewers and listeners to be with me on security issues pertaining to, I think there are some secondary issues that I'm managing, but the moment I actually filed the papers, I promise that I will be appearing on the screen talking about freely, without fear, favor, or inferiority in any way, because it will be very clear. But as we speak right now, we are on lockdown. Some conditions that I'm complying to, and I think things are going to be sorted. I think
I just need to establish something. You mentioned an issue of lockdown affecting the way you should have filed this court case. Out of interest, right here, Mr. Mawere, a recent court pronouncement was made during a lockdown. Does this not signify the agency of a case when a whole Supreme Court announced the case during a lockdown? Does this not also empower you to file your case during a lockdown than to wait after it? Because a precedent has already been set at judiciary to say that this is an agent matter.
Yeah, the lawyers are handling that, but I wouldn't want to speculate more. But the memo itself that is actually underway is actually because that we cannot file an agent application. So we are going to wait for the normal court process.
So he says he's advised by his lawyers that it has to go through the normal role. And I think the case cannot be classified as agent. That's what Mr. Wizi says. He's also a judge. Mr. Wizi is a judge because he's giving a lot of pronouncements here. And he is also telling you that, my friend, you are going nowhere slowly.
Yeah, but all these threats now are coming from the people who are actually affected by the system that we want to resolve. That the justice or the democracy of our country must be based on the Constitution and its founding principle, a situation whereby I'm going to be victimized for wanting to follow justice and for also wanting to apply justice. Then I think my own case is going to speak a lot to the democracy of the country itself. So the new dispensation must actually be undertaken. We have got a listening president, and who is actually saying that we want to engage and re-engage even with the states that we once hostile to us. The whole also to tell the Zimbabweans like that the kind of people who are actually interested in knowing the connotation of Section 38 of a ZANU-PF constitution is actually metastasized into heads of state and diplomatic missions of other countries. It's not a simple matter that we are talking about. It has got a contagion effect, and also it has got a ripple effect to quite a number of factors. It is not about Goodman Musariri. It has got a lot to do with the bilateral, the multilateral engagements that have taken place from the time that we are claiming that there was an illegality in the election of the sitting president. Not even attacking his persona, but it is actually going to go as far as 19 November 2017. And has anyone thought that the whole election, the whole 2018 election, will also be found to be a nullity when we say that the president who declared the election is also illegitimate? If also people looked at the fact that when we go to the date immediately before the date of this controversial gathering, we are actually going.
Okay.
Operation risk. So
I think we can say on your side we can.
Where the army was still holding the reins out. So there are issues in
Okay, Mr. Do you have any further questions, or we can wind up for today until he comes back now?
I'm sure we have already passed our first hour. It will be only fair on him and our viewers. But I know me and you, Ms. Mawere, we can take 5 hours on this issue, but it would have made sense. At least for now, we'll take a break just for today. I think I'm satisfied for the day.
Okay, and Mr. Goodman, any final comments you would like to make? Any plea you want to tell the public as of today?
Yes. I want to tell the whole world, or the public, or the listeners, when we look at the Constitution, we are looking at the establishment of our country, the formation of our country, the makeup, the structure and the character of our country, which is actually pulling out a certain quality that we must be proud of. And when we look into the constitutionality of political parties, we are actually hunting for issues that are actually creating anarchy in our system. Party capture is something that we must be worried about right now, where we are saying that the polity is characterized by a patronage-driven system in which a small ruling elite or political associates, legislators, public servants are provided with jobs in return for loyalty. And at the end of the day, we are actually creating a kleptocracy, or a dangerous kleptocracy system, which is actually undermining the functions of a pure justice that we are looking for in our country. So party capture and state capture can only be removed if we look into the matters of our own party constitutions, the constitutionality of the matters. What are our leaders doing around the provisions of the Constitution that are giving them power? Probably they are creating engines which violate the Constitution, but empowering them for undue enrichment, undue empowerment. I'm actually looking at this case, that is the sessions of the Central Committee that attempted to sit on the 19th of November 2017. I'm looking at a certain machination which created a certain engine without the consent of the party members. The president was supposed to be elected by nominations from provinces, and who was supposed to be nominated nationally or elected nationally, then go to Congress. But all that process was bypassed by an action that was done on the desk by a certain clique or by a certain people, just an elite which agreed to do this action. So we must be wary of these things as a society and stick to constitutionalism. And constitutionalism is the bedrock of a good democracy. A democracy that creates a good president out of the connotations of the Constitution, which says he's supposed to be one with the merits and one with the probity, ability and integrity to lead our country. Not someone who a few or minority decide upon, but the whole generality of a certain political party, which then transmutes or metastasize into the whole democratic process of the country. So I'm looking at party capture and state capture as my taste here, and I want everybody to join me and say we do not want any ruling elite to take over our political parties for their plausible motives or for the reasons of party capture, which then leads to state capture. I thank you.
Okay, thank you. And also, Toneo, thank you for giving up time to be on this platform. And you know why animals don't have constitutions? Because the bigger animal will always have the last laugh.
Okay.
Only human beings need constitutions to limit the animalistic nature of men. Because we are animals, end of the day. If you upset me, I want to beat you up. And if you say something that I think you should not say, I want to punish you. So that punishment, if you steal a car from me, just imagine you wake up in the morning, the car is gone. Then you discover at the shopping mall somebody's driving the car that you call yours. The first thing is just to tell this person, what is domestic violence? What is violence? Even the law can't stop violence, can't stop murder, can't stop all the things that we don't want. But as human beings, not this generation, other generations thought that it was important to institute among ourselves a government. You know, the only institution that does not have a constitution, you know what it's called?
Enlighten me.
It's called marriage. There's no constitution. Any gathering of 2 or more people, you better have constitution to provide for what can happen in the event of death, like what happened in the event of Shanghai. What should happen when the president is no more? He's not absent. He's dead. That's why Section 38 talks of absence. It doesn't talk of death or vacation. That is gone. He's not coming back. It talks of a president being absent. Once he vacates, once he dies, Mugabe was taken out before he died. But technically, he was killed in the party first.
Yeah.
That's what Mr. Goodman is saying. That's on the 19th of November 2017, Mugabe's relationship with the party that he called his own was severed without his knowledge and consent. He was not even invited to the farewell party. But the world knew that he was gone. He was already gone by virtue of the army who were protecting him from the public. So he was not stoned like Ceausescu in Romania. But they were protecting him to rob him of the power that he had from the Congress of ZANU-PF. So that's where the challenge is. When people look at the MDC, some people are angry. ZaNU-PF, Ango Gerard says, the point must be made that voluntary associations are subject to the rule of the majority. That is wrong. You can see that Mr. ZaNU-PF maybe has vacated being a lawyer. You know what? When you're a lawyer and you're vacated, you become a client to your own cause. So you cease to represent the then the majority has the power to even condemn a breach of the Constitution or to ratify any action taken outside the law. That the Constitution, Mr. Rutsito, you know who the Constitution is supposed to protect?
It's supposed to protect the people.
No, not the people. And Mr. Goodman, who is the Constitution meant to protect?
Is the law itself.
No, is the weakest link, is the weakest, the person who has no power. That right. Mashawira guy with no degree, with no constitutional pedigree, it's supposed to protect one individual, the grain in the sand. That's where the protection is. You don't need the Constitution to protect the strong. You don't need the Constitution to protect the majority. But
although it's the majority that makes the Constitution, and the majority have the power to amend the Constitution, should they feel that the same Constitution is now an impediment to them? I'm just having a cutaway during the discussion, so
that's fine. You are raising a valid point, which is the MDC. They're saying Chamisa is popular, and therefore he must be above the rules.
We will start another 1 hour, 30 minutes. I was deliberately avoiding going that way, but let's have a fresh day for this discussion, Mr. Mchunga Mawere. I know our guests have already been with us for the past 1 hour, 30 minutes. We need to give them another fresh day, fresh perspective, and a fresh discussion so that we start all over on a fresh new topic. But I will not be persuaded to go that direction for now because we are already concluding this show.
Yeah, so I think in conclusion, I was just giving the final remarks that the Constitution is supposed to protect that grain in the sand. The individual feels his rights, like Goodman, are trampled upon. And if the Constitution says this, that's what it says. So I think you can amend the Constitution, but whatever it reads must be the law. Until it. So respect what you have put on paper. That becomes your law. It doesn't become the court's law. So on that point, those who are interested in understanding constitutionalism indicate so that we can deepen our understanding, broaden our understanding, so that we all can be better active citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. We do appreciate. It's been Okay.
And once again, we do thank you to all of you who have been watching with us. It has been a very much long show where we're discussing there. Joining us from South Africa was Mr. Mnangagwa Mawere, and we also had a constitutionalist, or should I say, a ZANU-PF member who is challenging the legitimacy of the current president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, saying that he was appointed unconstitutionally, and his ascendancy to power is
to be questioned and has to be challenged. So that's the show that we've been discussing there. So Goodman Musariri is a ZANU-PF member, and is also a chairperson of a ZANU-PF district within his party, and he's saying within his membership he's got a right to question the ascendancy of power of Emmerson Mnangagwa. So it's going to be a very much interesting development there that's happening, and he says he's going to be filing his challenge officially very soon. So that's what's happening right here on www.techmec.tv. We're going to be having a part 2 of this, and to all our viewers who have been watching us, we do sincerely apologize. I know from the other end we did not have the best of the audio there, but I think in a nutshell, as we wrap it up, that was Goodman Musariri there speaking at large on why he strongly feels that the ZANU-PF constitution was violated as far as the way Emmerson Mnangagwa ascended to power, and he's saying that he is questioning that, not just questioning that per se, but is actually going to be challenging that through the High Court. So he says that soon, as soon as the lockdown or the COVID lockdown has been relaxed, his lawyers have advised him that that's the best time for him to be officially filing his papers and challenging the legitimacy of President Emmerson Mnangagwa, and that's going to be coming very soon. He said that he has been inspired by the recent Supreme Court judgment that also reversed the current MDCT setup that said they were enforced to go back to 2017 and reconvene Congress there and sit back to restructure the party. So he's saying that he strongly feels that the same may have happened within ZANU-PF. So this is what we've been discussing for about 1 hour and 30 minutes or so to the guys who just joined us right now. But of course, do look ahead to our next show. Hopefully we'll have better audio, better connectivity from the other end. But from us, we've always had a nice time with you guys, but we always hope that we're going to be perfecting the art as we come back to you. www.techmec.tv. My name is Tonio. It's been a very long day. We have to cut it and call it a wrap. We thank you so much. I know we usually do open up calls, but I think from the other end with our co-host, Mr. Mnangagwa Mawere, was reading live comments if you're watching us from Facebook, and those who are watching us as well from YouTube. But next week, next time when we come back live again, definitely we're going to be opening up our calls, and we get to converse with you guys so that you also get to call, and we have time to digress and discuss about this issue as all Zimbabweans together. But once more again, I do thank you guys. Thank you so much for taking your time to join us live right here. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you guys coming through. As you can watch now on the screen, please just follow suit. Simply hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the follow button, so that the next time when we do get to come live, you guys, you do not get to miss any notification. So yes, please go ahead and do that so that you are always in touch in as far as the developments are concerned here in the studio. We do have a lot of developments that are coming through and breaking news as when it happens, and you may not have enough time to catch up, but once you hit the notification button or the bell button, you'll be notified as and when we go live. Once more again, it's a wrap. Crew behind the scenes, we salute you. Thank you guys so much for a splendid job. We appreciate you, and it's a wrap from us and the crew behind the scenes. It's been a long day.